I've been thinking, how good are the AirPods Max compared to real audiophile headphones? Let's find out. Welcome back to Mark Ellis Reviews. Thank you for subscribing as always. If you haven't, just click the button. You'll never miss an episode. It's free. It's just a no-brainer. AirPods Max. Now, I have a proper review of these coming in a little while. I want to spend a bit of time with them before I do that. In the meantime, if you want to catch my initial reactions to them, I will put a link at the top. But I have been thinking, because these are so expensive, what are they like if you compare them against audiophile headphones? Now, I'm not an audiophile. I love sound, I love music, but I'm not clever enough to understand the intricacies of the sound these make. That's why I decided to get a proper audiophile who really knows what he's talking about on this channel to talk about these headphones, to get his opinion on should you buy these, A, if you're an audiophile, B, if you're not an audiophile but you just like nice pairs of headphones and you can't quite work out why they're so expensive. This is the interview. I found it absolutely fascinating. I learned so much with this, and I think some of the answers will genuinely surprise you. And by the end of it, hopefully you'll know whether or not to buy these yourselves. So this is me and a lovely chap called Jeff from Northern California. Enjoy. What are your thoughts on the comfort and the feel and the general manufacturing of the headphones?
This mesh feels really nice in the head.
Yeah, it does.
But I have heard that folks who have slightly wider heads feel a lot of clamping force.
Okay.
And so what I'd say is, for me personally, they're comfortable. I've worn them for up to 4 hours. The only thing I've experienced is a little bit of ear heat, which is hard not to get with a pair of closed back headphones. But it has never been clamping force or top of head pressure that has made me want to take them off. I
don't have audiophile headphones to compare them with at the moment, but I do compare them against things like the Sony XM4s, which I find very comfortable as well. But I do think the AirPods Max are slightly more comfortable for me personally. What's your headphones of choice?
A combination of these headphones called the Mod House Argons. And I'll talk a little bit about these. These are actually a Fostex set of headphones called the T50 RPs. On the other end of the spectrum, the Sennheiser HD 6XXs, which are from Mass Drop or Drop now. And these are about $220. This is the amp and DAC that I typically use in my home office for music listening, and this odd-looking dongle here is just to connect different kinds of headphones. I have also a set that I think the AirPods Max compete with, which are the Drop Pandas.
Okay.
These are Bluetooth, though they also can be wired. They are not active noise canceling.
Okay.
And these were specifically created by Drop with input from folks in the audiophile community at Drop, specifically to say, for audiophiles who want to travel with something that's Bluetooth enabled, that'll play higher streaming quality codecs like LDAC. These were created for them. I'd say that I enjoyed these a heck of a lot before I got the AirPods Max.
What was your first experience of the AirPods Max when you first put them on? What did you first think?
So first of all, I was blown away by the sound. I thought that they were actually very impressive and highly engaging. The active noise canceling is the best active noise canceling I have ever personally experienced.
Okay.
I don't have a pair of the XM4s, so I compared them to a set of Bose QC35 2s and a set of the XM3s that I had on hand, and I thought that the active noise canceling was really that much better than both of those.
Going beyond that initial experience of it, obviously you've compared the AirPods Max pretty comprehensively, I think, from the sounds of it, between the higher grade audiophile headphones. What were your observations with that?
So what I'd say is I have a couple of definitions. Typically you're looking at treble, mids, and bass, so just overall sound in those three areas, what people would call the frequency range. You're then thinking about soundstage and instrument separation. I want to hear the instruments individually. And so if there's a guitar riff and there's a piano and there are drums, I want to hear them distinctly. I don't want mushiness or crowding of the instruments. The sound is somewhat U-shaped. And by that I mean there's an emphasis on treble,
Yeah.
sort of higher level treble. There's an emphasis on sub bass and bass. So you're hearing a lot of textured nuance in the bass. The mids are sort of a little recessed, still highly enjoyable, but not necessarily as clear. So you hear drums and cymbals fairly well. Vocals are actually a little bit recessed.
Yeah.
You get a little bit less air, especially, let's say, in female vocals. And then the bass is just very much present and engaging. And so if you like many modern genres of music, EDM on the AirPods Max are awesome.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, hip hop is awesome.
Yeah.
I think where audiophiles would say they don't enjoy them, and again, certain kinds of audiophiles, is you don't necessarily get that same sort of detail and instrument separation that something like the Mod House Argons would provide.
Yeah.
Where you're hearing a lot of nuance and detail. I've had the privilege of hearing $1,000 and $2,000 headphones that don't present the package that the AirPods Max do.
Wow. And when you say package, do you just mean the overall experience?
So I think when you think about something like the AirPods Max and the audience for it, you ask yourself the question, if I were traveling for business or pleasure, how many pieces of kit would I carry specifically for audio? Probably once we're able to travel again, I may just travel with the AirPods Max.
Quite a big statement from someone like yourself who has experience and enjoys proper audiophile headphones, really. Which does give me one question. Should audiophiles buy these, or do you think they will be disappointed?
I think that audiophiles will probably test them. I think audiophiles who can afford to pick them up should test them, but I think they should get the wire, because the secret is they sound better wired.
Okay, that's interesting.
They do via Bluetooth.
From my point of view, and thinking about the kind of more average consumer, I think anyone who tries these on will not have experienced sound like this, even if they do have things like the XM4s or even the Bose 700s, because it's noticeably better. I was genuinely surprised. When they came, I was completely ready to put them on and just think, well, this just sounds like the Sonys. That they're really good, but so are the Sonys. And the Sonys are fantastic. They're still one of my favourite pair of headphones, but that's based on the price probably and the value you get for that. The AirPods Max do genuinely sound better.
If you have $550 to spend,
yeah,
these may be the only set of headphones you'll need, maybe ever, outside of something smaller and more discreet that you may use for specific purposes. What an audiophile would want is to be able to EQ these.
Yes.
To change the equalization to suit their taste. And while there is a very little known setting on iPads and iPhones where you can actually choose one of three sort of balances, it performs a slight EQ. It is a slight EQ. It is not component of each individual part of the frequency graph.
No.
And I think a true audiophile would want to be able to do that.
I put a very quick question out on my YouTube community tab just to see if anyone had any questions. And the main one that came back was from someone called Tom Herbert. And he's saying that because these are closer to the Harman Curve, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, does that necessarily mean that they're not more enjoyable to listen to than something that's less accurate? So very quickly, what is the very layman's terms explanation of the Harman Curve?
So the Harman Curve is basically how a set of headphones or in-ear monitors graph out the specific components of sound going from bass to treble.
Okay.
And they are fairly close. They have tuned it specifically to be engaging.
Okay.
The music sort of pulls you in. The Harman Curve for some people is a little boring. Okay. It's not as engaging, but it's very accurate. They said, okay, we want to be pretty close to the curve, but we are going to emphasize treble and sub bass specifically because it draws people into the music. And if you draw people into the music and you're not as accurate, for folks who do not tear apart those components, which maybe some audiophiles do, you'll say, wow, I have never heard anything as beautiful as this.
So there you go. Jeff's thoughts on the AirPods Max. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you're an audiophile, are you going to buy these? If yes, why? If no, why? Tell me. Let me know in the comments. Same thing, if you're not an audiophile like me, but you are now tempted to buy them, tell us why. Now, before you go, I recently did a behind-the-scenes tour of this tiny little studio. So if you're interested to see how this channel is put together, what happens in this room behind the scenes, and if you just find the whole YouTube thing interesting, I think you'll like this video. So carry on watching for a link to that video. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching as always, and I will catch you in the next video.